And welcome, sports fans, to today's roundtable. And it's coming down to the end of the year. High school basketball, we've got only a few weeks remaining, and we've got some big games taking place today for the smaller schools. And we'll be seeing who goes to the Final Four in Columbia for classes 1 through 3 today. And we'll talk about those games coming up later on today. And also we'll bring you one live here on YHC later on at 1 o'clock. As well. So we'll be talking about that, as well as games that took place last night and just a few nights before for the bigger schools, Class 4 and 5. They played their district championships over the past few nights, so they'll go into the sectional round, which will be coming up next week. So only a few weeks remaining, and we'll be crowning state champions for the state of Missouri. And we're going to be bringing quite a few games over the next few weeks, which we'll talk about as well. And we've got the road to the Final Four in Columbia right here on Channel 21 and online at SemoSportsZone.com. So be sure to stick with us for the next few weeks. And before we get to the scores, we will have David Jenkins on with the Standard Democrat here in the next segment and talk about the upcoming games this weekend and looking forward to next week's games for the bigger schools. So we'll have David Jenkins on in our next segment. And taking a look, we've got scored from last night for the bigger schools. We're started out with boys Class 4 District 2 finals, just a bit up north. That's Park Hill Central defeating Farmington in overtime, 70-65. And Park Hill Central moves on to the sectional round. They will take on Sykeston for the sectionals next week. And we'll be talking about that game in the next segment. Also, we're going to bring that one live to you, Sykeston and Park Hill Central as well. And moving on to some other games, we have boys Class 5 District 1 finals. It was Jackson over Oakville last night, 58-52. And Jackson moves on to the Class 5 state tournament in the sectional round. And we'll be talking about that a little later. And boys Class 5 District 2 finals, a little bit up north. Chaminade defeated Ladue 64-55. And Jackson will match up against Chaminade in those Class 5 sectionals. And in other games, girls Class 4 District 2 finals, North County defeated Farmington 45-34. And North County moves on to the sectional round, and they'll take on the Dexter Lady Bearcats in the sectional round in Park Hills next week. And we'll talk about that coming up as well. And girls Class 5 District 1 finals, it was Jackson defeating Oakville 47-40. They'll move on to the sectional round and take on St. Joseph's Academy as they defeat Nerix Hall 58-44. Jackson versus St. Joseph's Academy in those sectionals. St. Joseph's, #1 ranked team in the state in Class 5. They've got quite the team there at St. Joseph's. Also, boys Class 4 District 1 finals, Sykeston over Cape Central. That was Thursday night. And we had that one live here on Channel 21 and online. It was 77-61. Sykeston over Cape Central. Impressive victory for the Sykeston Bulldogs. They move on to the sectional round. And we'll be talking about their opponent coming up. And in girls Class 4 District 1 finals from Thursday night, it was Dexter over Notre Dame, 48-46. Big win for the Lady Bearcats. Come down to the very end. Dexter being without Allison Gerald, one of their sharpshooters from the outside, had a little tougher time offensively. Things weren't as in sync as they typically are, but they still got by the Notre Dame Lady Bulldogs, who really showed up, put forth a fine effort. Just come up a little short, but the Dexter Bearcats, Lady Bearcats, win their 3rd straight district championship and move on to the state sectional round. Boys Class 3 sectionals from this past Wednesday night. Charleston over Clearwater, 85-63, and they advance to the quarterfinals taking place today in Hillsboro. We're talking about their matchup with Madison Prep in our next segment. And the boys Class 3 sectionals, as we mentioned, Madison Prep defeated Maplewood Richmond Heights 66-49. And that's all for your scores for the past few days. And we're going to take a break and be back with David Jenkins of the Standard Democrat. We're going to talk about these matchups in the next rounds for classes 1 through 5. We're going to talk about all these matchups, and we'll be back with him coming up.
With an interactive home security system from New Wave, your family comes home to peace of mind. Now we bring you the future of home security. Arm and disarm your system remotely from your office computer or iPhone. Even look in on family or pets with live video from inside your home. In an emergency, our 24/7 alarm monitoring responds with the help you need. Peace of mind wherever you are. Now available from New Wave Communications.
At Glen St. Kennett, we have a lot full of inventory and the best rebates of the year. I'm Danny Ford, owner of Glen St. We just want the opportunity to talk to you about your next car or truck. The rebates are the best of the year and interest rates the lowest to work with. It's a great time to buy, and our people are excited to help you make the right choice. We realize you have a lot of dealers to choose from, but I can assure you no one appreciates your business like we do. Glen St. Kennett, and God bless our troops.
When I was a kid, we didn't have all these wireless devices. We only had one computer plugged into the wall, and we were grateful.
Technology changes fast. Stay ahead with blazing fast internet speeds from New Wave Communications. New Wave delivers the internet with incredible speeds, up to 50 megabits per second. Pick the package that's right for you. New Wave, the area's fastest internet, period.
Kids today don't know how good they have it.
Let's talk about next year. This is the time of year to reflect on last season's crop and make decisions for next season. What mix of crops should you plant? Should you buy new equipment this year or get by another year with what you have? We'd like to help you make the financial side of your planning a little easier. Our ag department knows agriculture and they're local.
Stop by and see us
at First Midwest Bank.
And now we're along with David Jenkins of the Standard Democrat. And David, it's probably our favorite time of the year. We're getting into March Madness for sure now. We're getting into the last few weeks of the high school basketball season, and a lot of teams making that run for the Final Four in Columbia.
Definitely a great time of year to be a basketball fan, especially in Southeast Missouri. We always have some great teams, and this year's no different.
Sure. We always talk about each year teams making a run, and it seems like we always have 2 or 3 teams at least make it, sometimes even more than that. So we'll certainly have the teams making their run this year. And talking about games from last night and over the last few nights for the bigger schools, Jackson wins their Class 5 district championship last night. An impressive run. They've got a pretty good haul up to Oakville for that district tournament. So impressive them winning that Class 5 district.
They do, winning on the road. It's tough. Jackson's a good team. They've got some good talent. They're a pretty good team. They're going to have Chaminade in the sectional now. Chaminade's going to be a tough test for them. But Jackson, year in, year out, is always a very competitive, very good basketball team, and this year's no different.
Sure. And they move on to the sectional round, Class 5, and take on Chaminade. Not sure where that sectional round is.
I think it's in Farmington.
Farmington?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That'll be Wednesday night in Farmington. And taking a look at the Class 5 state girls, we'll talk about that quickly. Jackson wins that district championship as well, and they'll move on to the sectional round. And Jackson played Dexter pretty tough there towards the end of the year, so they've got a nice little team there.
Yeah, Jackson's a very good team. They shoot it well. They've got some big girls inside, so they're year in, year out. Jackson and Poplar Bluff are always at the top of that district, and Poplar Bluff's a little bit down this year, so Jackson's kind of went through, and they're finally getting into the playoffs this year. So we'll see what they can do. I think it's been a few years since Jackson's made the been able to win their district and get into that sectional, but we'll see what they do this year.
Sure. And taking a look at their bracket, they take on St. Joseph's Academy, and they're the top-ranked team in Class 5. I'm not even sure they've got a loss on their record this year.
No, they're extremely good, and Jackson's gonna have their work cut out for them. But St. Joseph, one of the top schools, are in the state, obviously, and it's gonna be a tough test for Jackson.
Sure will. And let's talk about Class 4 from Thursday night. The Class 4 District 1 Finals, Sykeston defeated Cape Central, and we got some footage of that game we'll show. And Sykeston coming away with that victory, sizable victory over Cape Central, and no real surprises here. Sykeston doing their thing and got a impressive victory over Cape Central.
Yeah, I've been saying all along, I think the toughest test for them in the district was going to be in the semifinal game against Kennett, which it was. Kennett matches up a little bit better with them than Cape Central, but Sykeston's just a very good team. They're poised for another run at the state championship, and I think they've got a chance to make the Final Four and do something once they get there.
They sure can. Cape Central's a team to look out for the next few years. They're pretty young.
Yeah, they're very young. A lot of sophomores, a couple freshmen, and I don't think they really lose anybody of any significance off their team, really, for the most part. Jamal Cox is back, the 6'4" postman inside, and they're gonna be tough next year, really tough. But you look at that district, so is Kennett, and so is Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to be really good next year. They're bringing a lot of young kids up off that JV that was really good this year. So that's going to be a really tough district next year, and there's going to be some really good teams.
You talk about Kennett being better, Cape being better, and Notre Dame being better, and Sykeston's going to be probably a typical Sykeston team, very competitive. So you'll have 4 very tough teams next year in that Class 4 district.
Right, it's going to get real tough next year. Sykeston will lose a little bit by losing Vashawn Ruffin. A lot of their ball handling will be gone, so they'll still have JT Jones back. But they're going to really have some struggles, I think, next year with Cape and Kennett and of course Notre Dame. You throw them in the mix too.
Sure. And talking about this Sykeston team, I really like JT Jones. Well, he really had a great game the other night, and he does a little bit of everything. He can put it on the floor from the outside. He can shoot the 3. He goes in and bangs down low and gets points underneath, and he can pass, he can defend. He just does everything for Sykeston.
Right. He's an all-around player. He's really good at getting the ball in the post and scoring. It usually, if he touches the ball underneath, it's going to go in the basket. He can stretch the defense and shoot some threes. He can handle the ball. He defends well. He just needs to keep his emotions under control at times. He's very emotional player, and he can let that get the best of him at times. But for the most part, he's a great player. He's just a junior. He'll be back next year, and he plays bigger than his size. He's only about 6'2", but he plays a lot bigger than that. And he's just a really good player, and he fits the mold that Coach Hallfield likes for his postman very well. Very athletic, and can play inside and out, and he fits that mold perfectly.
Sure. And Vashawn Ruffin, as you mentioned, this kid, in that Cape Central game, he didn't really just dominate the game, but when it came late in the game, when they just wanted to put it away, he got 3 or 4 baskets and just sealed the deal for Sykeston. And that's when he comes in, is when they really need the basket to put a game away, or when it comes to crunch time.
Right. He did the same thing against Kennett. He got late in the game, he took it over, and Kennett kind of came close, got within 6, I believe, and then Vashawn just took over. And that's what he does. He's a senior. He's a leader. He's more of a shooting guard than a point guard, but he's been asked to handle the point this year because they didn't have any ball handlers. So he spends a lot of his time just handling the ball and getting the ball to where it needs to be, to JT Jones or to Marquise Bratcher, for a 3 or something. He gets the ball to where it needs to be, and then late in the game when they need scoring, then that's when he steps up and hits the shots. He'll go to the free throw line. He's a very good free throw shooter. So he's a really tough player, and as he goes, so does Sykeston. They lost a game earlier in the year to Maplewood, and in that game that Maplewood just took him away. They basically doubled him everywhere and made someone else handle the ball, and Sykeston just didn't handle it well. And that's what I think that's the key to beating Sykeston, is you take Vashawn away, because he handles the ball, and as he goes, so does Sykeston.
Sure, and Sykeston's a very good team, and they run that full court press about as good as anyone. We were doing the game the other night, and you just notice that they don't just overwhelm you, just getting steal baskets. That's what you think about a full court press, a good team, that they just get steals and baskets constantly, but they don't necessarily do that. They always they trap you and make you kind of bait you into a long pass. You throw it out of bounds, and you'll try to go up the sideline, you go out of bounds, and they force you into. It's more of a mental kind of challenge, more than it is just dominating the game physically.
Right, and not only that, but as you saw against Cape Central is more of a slower paced team, and they forced them to push the basketball. They thought, well, okay, we can attack the press, we get up and down the floor with them, and it causes them to run. They start playing too fast, they turn the ball over, and also it wears them out. They're not used to playing that style of up and down, and it wears them out. So it works on so many levels. And I've seen a lot of Sykeston games over the years, and usually about the second quarter, about midway through the second quarter, the team just start, getting mentally tired. Even if they've been handling the press well, they get mentally tired and they start throwing the ball away, dribbling it out of bounds, like you said, and they start making bad passes, and that's what that press does. And Coach Hollifield has 10 guys, and he'll sub those 10 guys in and out. They know what position they're going to be in that press, and he keeps them all fresh, and it really is tough on the other team.
Yeah, conventional wisdom is with the press, you try to get steals and baskets, but there's another aspect to it that Coach Hollifield uses greatly, is just forcing a team to get out of their flow offensively, try to play a little faster, try to score off that press with a quick jump shot or something like that. Takes them out of their traditional flow that works well for the team, and that works over the course of the game, and that's the way that the other side of the press.
Right.
That you might not get steals and layups, but then again you're forcing teams to take quick shots out of their offense, away from their offense, and getting defensive rebounds and getting more possessions offensively. So that's basically their approach to the full court press.
Right, and then they fall back into their 2-3 zone in the half court, and they're real aggressive in it. They trap out of it, and they're all over the ball, and teams just aren't used to that. They're used to teams sitting back in a 2-3 zone, move here, move there. And Sykeston's just attacking the ball at all times. They're always attacking, and it forces teams to. Cape Central shot a ton of threes the other night, because they would have the open shot and they'd be like, okay, I got to shoot it, instead of trying to get the ball inside like they should have been to their bigger kids and taking advantage of the size that they had. So and Sykeston does that to everybody, not just Cape Central. That's just kind of the way they play.
Sure, and that 2-3 zone, like you said, they stay after it. It doesn't, when you watch them, you don't think it's zone because they're at the ball, they're trapping on the wings. They're really getting after it, and it seems like it's a man-to-man kind of a half-court trap, but it's in a zone set, and they probably run that 2-3 zone better than anyone, the way they attack the ball.
Oh yeah, and they work on that all through the summer, and that's basically the only defense they run. You don't see them playing man-to-man much, very little at all, and they don't switch anything. They stay in that same defense no matter who they play. And it's worked for them for the last 4 or 5 years. They've had some terrific teams, and that's about the time they've been using the full court pressure and this 2-3 zone.
Yeah, it works very well together, and they're going to make. Looks like they've got a favorable route through the state tournament. Hasn't been as tough as it has been in years past in the Class 4 state tournament. Right.
You look at Park Hill Central in the sectional, and they shouldn't have any problems with them. They played them last year and beat them by 40 or so. I don't expect that type of blowout, but I don't figure they're going to have much problem with Park Hill Central. And then you get into the District 3 championship, and you're going to have either Hillsboro probably or Gateway, and I don't think either one of those teams can play within 20 points of Sykeston either. So Sykeston has a pretty clear path into the Final Four. And there you'll get maybe a Duchesne or a Mexico or a Miller Career, and that'll be a much tougher game. But I really think they've got a clear path into that Final Four, and without much of a test, as long as they stay healthy.
Sure, they should make a great run, and we'll see how it all ends up, in that state tournament over the next few weeks. And speaking of the Class 4 girls tournament, we had the Dexter Lady Bearcats defeat the Notre Dame Lady Bulldogs the other night, only by 2 points, and that was a scare there for Dexter the other night.
It was a really good game, really fun to watch, and I was really impressed with how both teams defended. They defended very well, and Notre Dame is never going to just go away. And I know that Dexter beat them by about 32 earlier in the year or something like that. I never expected it to be that type of blowout, and then of course with Gerald missing for Dexter, that really hurt them as far as having someone to break out. Notre Dame kept packing it in down low, and Gerald really can bring that defense out with her 3-point shooting, and that really hurt them not having her. But Dexter, you win and move on, and that's what Dexter did, and sometimes you don't play your best, but if you can win those games and still come out of it and advance, then that's what you have to do.
Sure, and this was probably a good test for Dexter that Notre Dame played so well, because the caliber of teams they're facing here in the districts and even in the state tournament potentially here in the next few rounds isn't going to be near the caliber that's going to be in the Final Four potentially.
Right.
So they need a good test out of these teams to prepare them for potential semifinal game, which once they get to the semifinals, if they do get to that point, there's going to be some high caliber talent there in the Final Four.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And Incarnate Word, being at high caliber, I think they're nationally ranked, and they'll have them. I think if they make the semifinals, that'll probably be where they meet them at. And Dexter's just it's always good to have those tough games, because you've got to learn how to win those tough games in order to advance. And then not every game's going to be a 30, 40 point blowout. And so I think that that game really helped them. Here they have North County in the sectional. I don't think they're going to have a whole lot of problem with them. And then if they win that game, I think they're going to have a team with a losing record in the in the quarterfinal. Rosati Kane, I think, is 9-17, and then the two teams playing in the District 3 championship, they're both I think have losing records also. So it's going to be I think Dexter has a really great chance to make the Final Four, and that's whenever they meet up with Incarnate Word, and that'll be that'll be a problem. That'll be a tough test for them. But you got to make it there first, and then once you make it there, then you worry about how to beat Incarnate Word.
Sure, and that being without Allison Gerald, that's one part of their offense, especially that they really depend on, is her outside shot. When Brittany Harris is getting covered up and Paige Patterson down low, she's always there to knock down that shot. And maybe good for some of the other girls to kind of step up their game in that in that kind of game, so they can elevate their game going forward.
Well, they're going to have to, and I thought Hannah No really stepped up really well.
4 3-pointers in that game.
Yeah, she hit some threes, but more importantly, she was everywhere on the floor. She's diving for loose balls, and she was creating steals on defense, and she was deflecting passes and really guarded very well too. And I was really impressed with the way she played and the way she stepped up. She's not normally their lead person. Normally it's Brittany Harris, but she really stepped up and whenever she had to. And Notre Dame did a great job on Brittany Harris. They were just packing the paint, and they just weren't allowing her to get the ball. And so other girls had to step up, and Hannah No was one of them with hitting those threes, especially early. It really kind of helped them out.
Sure. And we're going to take a break real quick and come back and talk about the classes 1 through 3 sectional games that'll be taking place today, and take a look at their state tournament brackets, and we'll be back with that coming up.
I want to stay connected to you. I like the way you do what you do. All right, okay, you're fine.
Call Audubell Hearing Center at 1-800-499-8786 or visit one of our locations in Dexter and Poplar Bluff, Missouri today.
I'm a full-time wife and mom, and I also work as a substitute teacher. You can see why it seems impossible to get a college degree, but with Southeast Missouri State University's regional campuses, it really is within my reach. I can get a degree without leaving my hometown, and that's important when you have a family. Getting a college degree isn't easy, but Southeast makes it convenient.
Southeast Missouri Mutual Insurance is celebrating our 100th year. We started protecting rural farmers way back in 1910, insuring folks no one else would. Southeast Missouri Mutual Insurance has been a family business for 4 generations, and we continue that tradition today, providing solid home, farm, and commercial insurance at very competitive rates. When the ice storm hit us, we were out there with you. All of our claims were processed within days, and we will continue to provide the best coverage and the best service for the next 100 years. Southeast Missouri Mutual Insurance, a century of service.
And now we'll take a look at the smaller schools. We'll start out with Class 3 quarterfinals. Yeah. All right, Class 3 quarterfinals taking place today, and that will be in Hillsboro at Jefferson College, Charleston versus Madison Prep, and this is going to be a great game today, David.
Oh, it is. Madison Prep is extremely talented, and beating Maplewood by 17 like they did, that kind of opens my eyes because you kind of look at it. Maplewood beat Sykeston, who beat Charleston, so Charleston has their work cut out for them. Madison Prep is very athletic. They've got size. They have guys that can shoot the ball. They have quickness. They have the works. I mean, they're a very talented team. They're probably, I would say, if they were in Class 4, they'd be the #1 team in Class 4. But they have a lot of the same kids that played on the Imagine Prep team that beat Sykeston in the quarterfinals last year. So they're very talented, and Charleston's going to have to work it out for them today.
They certainly do, and that'll be at, I think it's at 1 o'clock start up there.
Yes.
1 o'clock start up at Hillsboro. It's quite a ways up there, so you better get leaving now before you got to make that game. But they'll take on Madison Prep in that quarterfinal. Looking back to their game with Clearwater this past Wednesday night in the sectional round, they got a sizable victory over Clearwater, and we see now a dunk there by Sumner Foster, and they got a pretty good test from Clearwater early on, but that defense wore on them, and offensive rebounds, Charleston just dominated.
Right. Charleston does that to a lot of teams. Their defense just wears on you mentally and physically. You get tired. You start making bad passes. It's a lot similar to what we talked about with Sykeston. What their defense does, it just wears on you and wears on you. And usually about the second quarter, late in the second quarter, you start turning the ball over, and that's when Charleston starts making their run. And that's when they did. They kind of pulled ahead a little bit, and then the second half, they pulled away. And it's just a typical Charleston team, and that's what their defense does.
Sure. And Clearwater, we don't get to see them very often. They play out west, and they brought a pretty good team to the court. I was really impressed with how they competed, and they competed well in spurts. But over 4 full quarters, it's hard to keep up with Charleston and everything they do in all facets of the game.
Right, and they're not used to seeing that style of play over there. They're not. You can't simulate it in practice. You can't simulate the athletic ability that Charleston has and the pressure that they put on you. You just can't simulate that in practice, and that's tough. And I thought Clearwater handled it well early, but they just couldn't. They just couldn't sustain it for the entire game.
Sure, and fine season Clearwater. I think they only ended up with maybe 3 losses after Charleston, so pretty good year for the Clearwater Tigers. But Charleston, being typical Charleston, moves on to the quarterfinal round. We're looking forward to seeing how that plays out in Hillsboro with Madison Prep today. And take a look at the Class 2 quarterfinals taking place today. That'll be Oran taking on Winona, and that will be in Farmington today. And Winona knocked off Bernie in the sectional round, so we could have had an all-SEMO quarterfinal today if Bernie would have beat Winona. But Oran advances. They defeated Ellsbury, had to go to overtime to beat them. So Oran's got one win away from the Final Four.
Oran's very talented. They're very tough to guard because they've got about 6 or 7 guys that can score 15, 20 points at any given day. They've got guys who can just fill it up. They don't really guard well at times. They'll take some possessions off defensively, but offensively, they've got a lot of guys that can score, and they showed that on Wednesday night. They had a couple guys that got cold. They bring some guys off the bench, and they come in and help fill the scoring roles. And when they get in foul trouble, they're about 7 or 8 deep. So when they get in foul trouble, they can bring a couple guys off the bench who can score, and so they're really tough to guard, and they've got a good shot to make the Final Four. And I was really kind of hoping they'd play Bernie because I thought they matched up really well with Bernie. I thought they complement each other very well. Winona, I know that they've got some size, a 6'4" and a 6'2", and then they've got some guards that can shoot. But I think that I don't know a whole lot about Winona other than what they did against Bernie. But to beat Bernie, and it was close. It should be a close game today.
Sure, and haven't got to see Oran this year. I saw them going back to last year, and they brought pretty much everyone back from last year's quarterfinal team from last year, and they had a good team last year, but they should be able to build upon that this year. And Winona, pretty big team. They've got I think a 6'7", 6'8" kid that's I mean, if you got 6'7", 6'8", you got to deal with it no matter what kind of talent they have.
Right, and Oran's got some size. They've got Alex Hiring, who's probably 6'4", 6'5"-ish. But he's a very good post player, and so he'll battle inside with the big kid for Winona, and they've got shooters. Cody Moore is a really good shooter. Seth Russell handles the basketball a lot, and he's a good shooter. Like I said, Oran's tough to guard, and they play a similar style to what Bernie plays, and they I think Bernie guards a little bit better than what Oran does, but I think Oran may score a little bit better. So it should be an evenly matched game. Oran's been there before. They've been in the they were in the quarterfinals last year where they lost to Hayti, so they may have a little bit of experience advantage there against Winona. But we'll see. It should be an outstanding game.
Sure should, and we'll be looking forward to that taking place in Farmington today. Oran trying to get SEMO into the Final Four in Class 2. So we'll see how that plays out in Farmington later on today. And taking a look at Class 1, Scott County Central advances over Risco. That was Tuesday night in Bloomfield. We had that game here on the channel. And what a game that was. Scott County Central and Risco from Tuesday night.
Yeah, they're two very good teams, exciting teams. They're teams fun to watch. They get up and down the floor. They shoot it. They put a lot of pressure on you, and they're just fun teams to watch. And it was a really good game. Risco made it, really came on late and challenged them, and Scott Central was able to hold on and pull it out.
Yeah, Scott County and Risco, they've been meeting up for 4 years straight, I think, in the state tournament, and Risco really came prepared to play this year. They've taken some lumps over the past few years from Scott County, and this year they came to play. It seemed like, you get used to seeing this team. You're going to adjust to them, and they certainly did. And what a game by Brandon Bixler down low. He had over 20 points and really played well for the Tigers. And it just came down to a couple plays late. Risco came back in the game, tied it up late in the fourth quarter, but just tried to make too many plays there at the end that were, some turnovers, and opened the door for Scott County to pull that one out.
Right, I think experience kind of plays into it a little bit there because, Scott Central's been in this position the last few years as far as, making the Final Four and winning state titles, and so they're experienced. They know how to win these close games. Risco's still learning how to win these games. They know how to win the district games, and you get in the playoffs. It's still a different atmosphere than from even what you are in district time, and I thought they put Risco just probably got a little tight there at the end. Trying to, like you said, trying to make the big play and trying to make the plays probably before they needed to. And Scott Central, they can play within themselves, and they know how to win these games in the playoffs. And it kind of showed. But Risco's really coming along, and it's fun to watch them. Coach Blankenship does a great job with Risco, and just year after year, they just seems like they get closer and closer and closer. So maybe next year is the year that they move on.
Looking at next year, I wouldn't be surprised if these two teams meet up again. You take a look at how they're going to size up against their district. Risco's going to bring back quite a few of these kids for next year's team, and in that District 1, they look pretty competitive already compared to what other teams are going to bring back. And Scott County is going to bring back some of their main players, especially Lorandis Banks, this kid. Well, he's got one of the smoothest jump shots I've seen this year.
Yeah, he's tough, and he really put them on their back in the district championship game against Leopold, and really just, the game was close throughout, and he just took over, and he threw down a dunk that really got the team fired up, and then followed that up with a steal and a three and put them ahead, and they never trailed after that. And the team feeds off him, and he just does a tremendous job of in scoring. It seems like he never misses a shot.
A jump shot. If you want one kid to hit a jump shot for you, whether it's late in the game or whatever, Lorandis Banks has got to be your guy, I think.
Yeah, it seems like he never misses. He's real smooth. He's fun to watch. It's a lot of fun to watch, and he as he goes, so does Scott County Central, and Scott Central is tough this year, and it looks like they should beat Eminence. I would say today, Eminence reminds me a lot of, just on paper from what I've seen and read, just a lot of maybe an Oak Ridge team who they beat in the district semifinals, so I think Scott County Central probably has the edge today. Who knows when you get into these type games though, but Lorandis Banks is definitely their leader.
Yeah, and he's not a gunner. He's not going to just shoot shots all night long.
Oh yeah.
He's not a volume shooter, but man, when he shoots very efficiently. He'll take maybe 5 3-pointers and hit 4 and have a big night.
Yeah. First, you don't leave him open. That should be your first. If you're guarding him, just don't leave him open. But he's not going to be a guy who's going to throw up 30, 40 shots in a game. He's not a Kobe Bryant type. He's going to pass the ball, and they're going to take the best shot that they can. But if he has an open look, he's going to knock it down, and he's done it all year long. And he's just very impressive, very impressive to watch.
Sure. And talking about that Scott County Eminence game, we're going to bring that one live to you today, right here on YHC Channel 21, and it's going to be online at SEMOsportzone.com as well, so look forward to that one later on today at 1 o'clock, and we'll have that one live here in Dexter later on this afternoon at 1 o'clock, so we'll be looking forward to that one. Scott County looking to defend there. Is it 4 times they've won it in a row?
4 times.
Okay. I got corrected the other night. I was saying 3, and of course it's 4. But looking for their 5th straight. state championship. And boy, these last few years they've had it tough go here the last few years. It's and that's very impressive the way they've won the past few years. And this year they had a losing record going into district play.
Right. And I, there's a lot of people who thought this year was going to be Leopold's year, and I just kept saying no, no. Until somebody beats Scott County Central, it's Scott County Central's district, and it was played at Scott County Central, and I don't know, Leopold, they had all the hype coming in. They had like 2 losses, 22-2 or something going into districts, and they just, Scott County Central is just Scott County Central, and they raised their play when it comes district time, and they did it again this year, and I'm never going to count Scott County Central out of a game ever, just because like I said, they've had an impressive run. They've got one of the best players in the country playing at Georgetown right now. They produced him, and all they do there is play basketball. Every time I drive by their school, there's cars there by the gym. They're in there playing basketball. And that's all they do, and they know how to win, and that's what they do. They just win.
Man, they're certainly on the streak right now, trying to get back to that Final Four and defend their four-time state championship. So, and boy, if they win, they're going to match up with Drexel likely. Drexel's in that quarterfinal round as well, and that's the team they met up with in the championship game last year, and that was a classic last year in that Class 1 state title game. And they bring back a lot from last year, that Drexel team.
Yeah, Drexel's going to be really tough, really tough for Scott County Central. But there again, Scott Central's been there before. They know how to win there. They know how, So if they make it, you don't count them out. But Drexel will definitely be their toughest test that they would have faced, through the playoffs if that's who they match up with in semifinals.
Sure. And I remember looking back to that state championship game last year. It was an awesome game. Larandis Banks had 5 3-pointers maybe in that game. 5, yeah. Oh, he stepped up. Only as a sophomore, he played huge in that game. And the Drexel kid, I think it was the coach's son, got hit in the head, and he went out for a bit, came back, and I think he had over 20 points. Yeah, and he's going to be back, so he's going to be hungry.
Oh yeah, and Drexel, Drexel wants a little bit of revenge, for that game. I think, they thought they could have won that game, and they really could have. It was just like I said, a great game, and it'll be a fun matchup to watch them play. Go at it again. I think it'd be a lot of fun to see them play in the semifinals.
Sure, we'll be looking forward to that if that matches up. But still got Scott County and Eminence today at 1 o'clock from the Bearcat Event Center. We're going to bring that one live to you here on Channel 21 and CMOSportsZone.com. And touching on the girls, let's start out with Class 3 girls. Twin Rivers advances, and they'll take on, they've got Lutheran North today, and that will be up at Jefferson College. And Twin Rivers got a big win over Saxony Lutheran in that sectional round.
Right, that was really surprising. Saxony's had a great season, and they took Dexter to the wire earlier in the year, and I was kind of surprised to see Twin Rivers beat them. But Twin Rivers has a very good team. They've got some size, they've got some shooters, and that Tori Cole she's an exceptional player in the post, and they're a very good team, and they could easily win today and make the Final Four.
Sure, and impressive victory. Saxony Lutheran probably just a week ago, you would say they were the next best team to Dexter in southeast Missouri, and what a win by Twin Rivers. Really young team, though, Saxony Lutheran. I think they start 3 freshmen.
Right, yeah, they're really young, and they freshmen, sophomores, a lot across the board, and so they're going to be there for the next few years, and Twin Rivers a lot of seniors, so experience does matter in these type games, and Twin Rivers is very good. Like I said, Cole and I believe her name's Stockton is a outside shooter. They really complement each other well, and they're really playing real well this time of year.
Sure. We'll be looking forward to how that plays out in Hillsboro today. Now, in Class 2 girls, we've got Neelyville in the quarterfinal round today taking on New Haven, and New Haven's one of those girls teams that's always there in the mix, and it should be a pretty good game. Neelyville's got a pretty good team going back the past couple of years.
Yeah, Neelyville's they've had a good little run going there, and they've got some talent, and it seems like they're always there in the Twin Rivers Classic. Around Christmas, they're always one of the Final Four teams there, and so they're a good team, and I honestly don't know a whole lot about them, but they're from everything I've heard, they're a good team. They can shoot it real well, so that's that's always helps you come district time.
Sure, we'll be looking forward to that game. That takes place, help me out, Farmington.
Yeah,
Farmington today. And that one's,
I think, at 2:45.
2:45 there in Farmington. And the Class 1 girls, that'll be taking place today. Naylor takes on Chadwick at 2:45 today at the Bearcat Event Center in Dexter. And I don't really know anything about Chadwick, but Naylor had a nice win over Scott County Central in the sectional round, and they've got a chance to get back to Columbia today.
Yeah, Naylor's a good team. It seems like every year they're in this position. They're in these quarterfinal games. Chadwick's going to be very tough for them, and Chadwick has been there in the past, and they're a good team. So it's anybody's game, I think, in that one. I want to say that they matched up last year, and I think the same two teams matched up, and I think Chadwick went to the Final Four last year, if I'm not mistaken. But both are good teams, and so it's anybody's game as far as that one goes.
Sure. So classes 1 through 3 playing for the opportunity to compete in the state Final Four in Columbia after today. So we'll be looking forward to seeing how those games play out, and looking to next week, we'll be getting into the sectional round for classes 4 and 5, and getting very exciting for schools around. Certainly wanting to make a run at a state championship this year, and we'll be certainly looking forward to how it all plays out here for the state of Missouri and these state tournaments. And David, we appreciate you stopping by today, talking with us about these upcoming games, and it's going to be very exciting to see how they all play out.
Yeah, it is, and fun time of year, and hopefully we can get several schools from Southeast Missouri up to Columbia this year.
Sure, we're always looking for our locals to do well in those state tournaments. And we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to talk about the games that we're going to be doing today going through next week, and we'll talk about some college basketball matchups taking place as well, so don't go away.
Welcome to NFL Total Access,
the show that takes you inside the locker room and down on the field. With inside access to all 32 teams all year long. NFL Total Access, Monday through Saturday, only on NFL Network.
NFL Network, where football season never ends.
In addition to unlimited calling, New Wave telephone users have a wide range of great phone features available. And now with the help of New Wave Internet, they're even easier to use thanks to our convenient online phone manager. Just log on to your MyWave portal. Now phone features like call forwarding can be set up instantly from any computer. Reliably activate or deactivate your call forwarding, and even set your home phone to ring once when a call is forwarded. Home telephone service made even better with New Wave Communications. Call today.
And we're back, and now let's take a look at the games we're going to carry right here on Channel 21 and SemoSportsZone.com for the next week. And today we'll have the Class 1 quarterfinals from Dexter, Scott County Central versus Eminence. That will be live today at 1 o'clock Saturday, and we're going to bring that game to you. And next week, Wednesday, March 6th, we'll have the Class 4 sectionals, the 6 o'clock game, the boys game, Sykeston versus Park Hills Central. And at 7:45, we'll have the girls' game, Dexter versus North County. So look forward to those games next Wednesday night from Mineral Area College in Park Hills. So we'll make the trip up, and we intend to bring those games live to you next Wednesday night. And next Saturday night, we'll have the Class 4 quarterfinals, and that'll be at Farmington. And that'll be starting at 6 o'clock next Saturday. And that'll be the girls' game starting at 6. And the boys' game following at 7:45. So the local teams of interest there, Sykeston and Dexter, the Sykeston boys and Dexter girls. So hopefully they'll fare well next week, and we can bring their games to you live here on Channel 21 and SemoSportsZone.com. So stick with us. We'll have the road to the Final Four right here on YHC and online, SemoSportsZone.com. And talking about these semifinals and finals, we're going to intend to bring those live to you as well from Columbia next Friday and Saturday, March 8th and 9th. March 7th, 8th, and 9th will be the semifinals and finals. Semifinals, third place, and finals for classes 1 through 3. So if we have any local teams competing, we're going to bring those live to you here on TV and online as well for next Thursday, Friday through Saturday. And March 9th we'll have the Class 4 quarterfinals as well. So potentially on Saturday, we could have a lot of basketball lined up for you here on YHC and online. So look forward to that big weekend. And then the following week, 15th and 16th, the next week we'll have the Class 4 and 5 semifinals and finals, third place and finals the next week. So we'll bring those games to you the following week as well. So we've got your road to the Final Four, including the Final Four, ready to go here for you right here on YHC and CMOSportZone.com. And take a look at some college basketball games to look forward to today. We have Alabama at 8th ranked Florida in the SEC, 10th ranked Louisville at 12th ranked Syracuse in the Big East, 21st Notre Dame at 22nd ranked Marquette in the Big East, 5th ranked Miami at 3rd ranked Duke in the ACC. Big matchup between those two teams today. Miami got the better of Duke earlier in the year, 20-plus points. I don't think it's going to be that big of a blowout today, but I think it's going to be a close one there at Duke today. Iowa at top-ranked Indiana, 11th ranked Arizona at UCLA in the Pac-12. LSU's at Missouri. And the SEC, Kentucky's at Arkansas. And our local teams, SEMO at Murray State in the OVC Conference. And Arkansas State's at Arkansas Little Rock in the Sun Belt Conference. So look forward to those games in college basketball today. And that's all we've got for you today, and we appreciate you for tuning in. And be sure to tune in for the games we'll be bringing the next few weeks here on YHC and CMOSportZone.com. And we appreciate David Jenkins of the Standard Democrat being with us today, talking about these matchups over the next few weeks. And be sure to tune in for today's game, Saturday at 1 o'clock. Scott County Central and Eminence, the Class 1 quarterfinals. The winner moves on to the state Final Four in Class 1. And we look forward to having you back with us next week. And until then, I'm Tyler Wagner. Have a good one.